Hello, everybody, America, the world. Welcome to the VERAfied Podcast from the studios in Agana Heights, Guam, USA. Oh, my God. First off, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We've got
Podcast world.
Happy New Year!
Brandon, the Truth, Vera, and the Chief, Franklin Arriola. Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Same to you, Johnny. BV in New York City.
Happy New Year, Kuya JM.
BV
Happy
in
New
New
Year,
York
Chief.
City.
New York!
Gentlemen, first off, Happy New Year. Secondly, just let's give a big shout out, right? We're on episode 7. None of this is possible without the absolute, just the production genius of the Three Blind Mice.
Blind Mice, you bet.
I want to give it up to Bojo and
Three
Duke
Blind
and Robert
Mice.
and Gary. Yes, again, I tease. 3 blind mice, 4 guys. It's all good.
Hey, that's island style, bro.
That's island style.
with the Filipino fusion.
That's
what I'm
island
saying?
style.
That's right. We're going to talk to B. He is Skyping in, or I think we're using
Riverside.
right?
Check that
can
out.
he
That's
say
some tech
he's
stuff.
Riversiding in? Yeah. Well, we're high
Using
tech now,
Riverside
guys. We are doing our first podcast where we've got Brandon virtual. But I do want to recognize real quick our brand partners making all of this possible. Guam Army National Guard.
There it is, the Guam Army National Guard. Yep, you bet.
Absolutely.
Always supporting.
Oh, my God.
Guam
These guys are
Army
wonderful.
National Guard, guys.
That's right. 3 blind mice, as we mentioned. We've got Bob Solis and Sabrina Solis Matanani. Rob Solis, Guam Windward Memorial.
Yes, sir.
And then, of course, coming up, oh, my God, it's coming up in a few weeks. Grapplers
Grapplers
Quest.
Yeah.
And,
Very excited about that one.
Grapplers Quest!
Very excited.
and BV and Frank's Truth Apparel.
Yo. Oh,
All right.
yeah. A new drop coming in first week of
Yeah.
January.
Oh,
Ooh.
absolutely
Yes, sir.
excited.
Headwear.
Oh, I've seen it,
Ooh.
people.
Yes, sir.
The headgear is
Shot.
nice,
Sir.
BB. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Shop.brandonvera.com. Oh,
I
exciting
cannot
stuff.
wait to see it.
Okay. We've got a tight show. We've
Let's
got
go.
a packed show, so we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with our segment called Truth Be Told. This is brought to you by the Guam Army National Guard. All right. B, Frank. This segment is brought to you by the number 12, as in Hunter Biden, the son of U.S. President Joe Biden, was just indicted on 9 tax-related charges, including
Yikes.
evasion and fraudulent reporting. You combine that with the 3 gun-related charges handed down in September of this year, that makes 12 federal indictments. Gentlemen, when it's all said and done, will Hunter go from Hunter to hunted? Or is he just biding his time for a sweetheart deal or a presidential pardon?
Ooh. Yikes.
You guys can arm wrestle. Who's first?
BB, you want to give that super salamat move on that bad boy?
Super salamat.
Yeah. Super salamat po. You know, so being a father, I understand the love for a son. And no matter what charges are brought up against Hunter, no matter how guilty that dude is, 1,000% China Joe is going to pardon him. 1,000%. Guilty or not, he's gonna write that pardon on his way out the office. That's my take.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. There's no doubt he's going to pardon Hunter Biden, whatever happens to him, even if he goes to trial. But from all indications, all the studies that I've done, that I've researched and looked at these legal experts, he's in a world of hurt. And there's other things that came as a part of that investigation. Some of those charges from the years 2014 and 2015, the real big ones, where he received a ton, millions of dollars, they allowed the statute of limitations to run, right? So they can't even charge him on those. And that's got a number of former federal law enforcement people really pissed off. Like, wait a minute, right? And you guys can imagine this, but that whole Hunter Biden thing it's a mess. It's a big mess for the country, obviously, and certainly for Joe Biden. And you said father's love for his son. I mean, yeah, okay, we get it. But as I said in a previous episode, that's why the kid is like that. It's because of The father's got to take responsibility. This guy's
Yeah,
53 years.
for
He's
real.
53. Brandon, he's 52 years old. I mean, wait. We're still.
Yeah.
My son. No, dog. When you were 21 years
Leave
old,
the
maybe
kids
18 or
alone.
19, maybe. You're 53, bro. No.
And Chief B, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, right? I've got kids, fathers love, but fathers cover up. I don't know. I don't know if that's acceptable.
The father wasn't even covered. I mean, yes, he was covered. But he's involved. Wait a minute. That's from the very. He's totally.
So maybe it's
he
not even
knows
a
hands
what's
cover
going
up
on.
of Hunter. It's
Right?
just self-preservation, right?
Exactly. Crazy.
Yeah, and I
That's
guess
it right
maybe
there,
the key is,
self-preservation.
does
Yes,
it
sir.
even go to a pardon? Because does this administration do everything that they can to kick this down the road so that there is no case, so there's not even a need for presidential love and a pardon?
You know, John, that's a good question. I think that with this 2024, like there's so many things. I was just thinking about this morning when I was doing my morning walk. There's so many things in that 2024 election, right? Good Lord. One of them is the Hunter Biden issue, obviously, right?
So
And
many.
so, yeah, there's that. You know, there's the failed policies of Joe Biden. You know, Biden's being surrounded by just complete. It's a losing slate, right? And the only thing that's keeping him afloat is the powers that be in Washington D.C. want to keep him there because they can manipulate him.
Sure. Yep.
When he was running for president, I have 50 years of serving in Washington D.C. Well, look, that's got us.
Yeah.
It's gotten us like pretty much nowhere, right? So
Yeah.
let's not do that again, America. Let's not make that mistake
Yeah.
again, right? That would be my first issue. And then, with this Hunter issue kind of all over him, he's a mess. And I said in a prior episode, the Democratic Committee, the DNC, my brother asked, couldn't we get someone better than Biden and or Trump, right? And I thought to myself, well, Trump, the Washington, the Republican bench is pretty deep. The DNC bench it's horrible. It's, Kamala's there
Empty.
waiting in the wings, and they don't want her,
empty.
right? So, I don't know, BB, what do you think? Brandon?
I don't think there is anybody in the wings for the Democratic Party. Yes, sir. Can you guys hear
I
me?
got you. Yeah, we got you. We can hear you.
Okay. In the
This is
DNC,
the
there is
beauty
no.
of when we
There's
do
nobody else. They haven't even
the-
talked about any else.
Yeah, they had. They talked. Kamala should really, as a vice president, she should be. Okay, Joe Biden wins in 2024 next year. Okay, I won. I did all the heavy lifting. I am going to retire now and turn it over to Kamala Harris. Everyone's happy. Yeah, female, black, Indian, all that. Yeah, go America. But they can't because they look at her like, whoa, what a mess.
But everybody seems to be doing that, Chief and B. You got people saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, we female and black, and let's go Latino, and let's get somebody who's 6'8", and let's get somebody who has a nose ring." I mean, how about just qualifications?
Yeah.
When I talk to my liberal friends, they go, "You know what? AOC," because you could check a list.
No, you're lying. None of your friends, none of your liberal friends says AOC. No, dude, no one does that.
Absolutely. Now, I will be honest.
No
that,
one's saying AOC.
a couple of those guys who are saying that, of course,
Oh, guys, okay.
they think she's, got legs all the way up to her neck. But,
Gotcha.
yeah. But my point is, did we forget qualifications, right? Are we looking and saying, wow, he's just,
I don't think we
he's
forgot qualifications, but maybe
LGBTQ,
just pushed them to the side.
or that person is Indian. I like Nikki Haley. But I don't like Nikki Haley because she's of Indian descent and she's female. Mm-hmm. I think she's going to kick ass.
Yeah,
Right? That's.
I agree.
All right.
I agree.
B, as we start to talk about the
Yes, sir.
presidential
Can you guys
race,
hear
right?
me?
We're going to go
Is this
into
audio
the
coming
next
in?
segment.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, you're coming in clear.
Yeah. And by the way, our audience out there, this is the wonderful thing about going live, right? We are using Riverside. We got our boy in New York City via, virtual plug-in. At the end of the day, I can't see him. Chief can't sit. We can hear him. We're going to keep going with this podcast. Love it. All right. So, next segment on VERAfied Podcast called Finish This Sentence. All right. Guys, we've got finished this sentence. We know how this works. I'm going to give you a sentence. You just continue it, right? Finish it with whatever's on your mind. By the way, this is presented to you by the Guam Army National Guard and the Three Blind Mice. All right. Chief, let's start with you.
Exam time.
Please finish this sentence. The removal of Donald Trump on the Colorado primary election ballot is...
Ooh, that's a big one. I can never answer these questions in one word, right? I almost feel like a Democrat testifying in front of the United States Senate.
You say Merry Christmas with 17 phrases, yeah?
Can you see my eyes rolling like hard? I almost broke my eye sockets.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's like the beginning of the end,
Okay.
right? You know, it's one thing for Hillary Clinton as a campaign component, pay for a false document, feed it to the FBI. They take 2.5 years, take it to the United States Congress. They impeach him based on that false document. That's dirty politics. I think it's criminal, but it's dirty politics. This is, as my good friend Eddie Cavo once described, judicial activism. This is the Justice Department, the judiciary, getting involved in something that they shouldn't get into. And here's the crazy thing, Brandon, that just blew my mind. George Santos, right? No, not George Santos from Gov Guam. This is the exiled congressperson from the state of New York, I think from Long Island. This homeboy, campaign funds, went to Louis Vuitton, used the money, got the mani and petty, all of it, right?
He's a regular fashionista.
He was indicted and charged, but he was never convicted. The U.S. Congress voted to impeach him and kick him out. So they kicked him out. This is kind of the same thing.
Okay.
It's a seven-member justice Supreme Court in the state of Colorado. 4 out of the 7 voted to kick him out, remove him from the ballot. Donald Trump was not charged with anything, let alone indicted, arrested, tried, and convicted. He's not even on the hook for anything. And these guys have the United States, the state constitution of Colorado gave them the wherewithal to remove him from the ballot. I mean, there's a couple of things that go on. Okay, we could do that to Donald Trump in Colorado. Now the Californians, oh my God, not to be outdone. Oh, we got to do that too, right? That's some craziness. But then there's also, well, they can do it to Donald Trump. We can do it to Joe Biden for his responsibilities of the southern border, where it's just, as we talked about earlier, Brandon, the border's wide open. Due process has been just annihilated for political purposes, which is the death knell, in my opinion, for our constitutional democracy. I mean, it's really sad, actually. It's sad. And these people are it's just so much involved, right? Trump derangement syndrome, right? I thought that's kind of weird. I mean, how could, no Americans are like, oh yeah, they are. They're so fixated on this guy, it's crazy. So yeah, it's, that's kind of a long-winded answer saying it's the death knell.
But I feel you.
But no, here's what I think, John.
I knew it was going to light you up, Chief.
The Supreme Court will overturn that. The United States Supreme Court will say, you guys are stupid. Stop it. Right? Sorry, Brandon. Go.
B?
I'd like to add, I'd just like to add tidbit of information from our history. The last time somebody was removed from ballots, Civil War broke out in the U.S.
Yep.
So
That was Abraham Lincoln.
if push comes to shove, Americans will fight, I think.
And 16 states right now, at least 16 states are waiting in the wings to follow what Colorado is doing. So it's just, it's not going to be pretty.
You know, the attempt is there, John.
That's crazy.
By that left-wing craziness, right? But there's enough stable people who say, okay, I know you guys are pissed, and I know that Trump represents everything that you're not, you know, the swamp, you know, the powers that be, et cetera, et cetera. But I think there's enough Americans to say, okay, we need to stop this stuff. But you know, Brandon, to your point, right? My father was still alive. I had a conversation with him about 2 years ago, and we were talking. This is just before the 2020 election, and he said, you know, boy, our country is really divided. It's what he said to me, right? I said to him, you know, Dad, I think we're in a civil war. People just don't want to admit it, right? The hatred. I don't hate my fellow Americans. I just don't have respect for their style, right? But there are people who hate conservative. I mean, literally hate conservative Americans, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this Brandon Vera podcast, right? It's because we need to have a voice, and we need more voices like ours to talk truth, like literally talk truth. Because right now, the way I see it,
VERAfied.
these people are, you know, Brandon, it's nuts. It's crazy.
I think worse sometimes too than hate in this case, Chief, is even if you get stable-minded, I think is the word that you used, right? You've got some very sane, very even hyper-intelligent Americans who won't allow this to happen. Is there going to be a movement of apathy, right? Is there an apathetic majority that is just going to sit home and say, you know what, I'm so tired of this that they're not going to get involved? That's always my concern. If there's enough people that tune out because they're not necessarily pro-conservative or anti-conservative, they're not even necessarily agreeing with the liberals, but they're saying, hey, look, I don't like Trump and I don't like Biden, and if you don't give me different choices, I'm just going to stay home. That's something that obviously, you know, that's a podcast in itself. So
you bet. And if I just throw in this quick tidbit, you know, and it may sound cliche, but there's way too much at stake for, you know, I hate to put it this way, either side to stay home. You know, the Democrat, they've weaponized the government, they've weaponized media, they weaponized big tech. Okay, fine. The non-Washington, D.C. elite group, they're going to sit back and listen to kind of stuff that we talk about. And then when they tune into other news sources in America, and Brandon's in New York City, man. I mean, you know, Brandon, can I just segue real quick? I'd like to, because Brandon, in the private conversation, you're talking about, you know, flying in, I think into the States. You know, you were with a bunch of what you perceived as were illegals, right? Can you share with the audience your experience there?
You know, I flew in from California to Virginia to New York. I'm sorry, but before I went to New York, I was in D.C. Man, the flights were packed with people who don't speak English. They're fucking rude. They're rude to the flight attendants. They're rude to the people who are trying to check them in. Some of them didn't have names on their boarding passes. Most of them were just trying to board, not in line. You can tell they're not from America. I want to go ahead and say that they're illegal aliens. They're illegals running around in the U.S., flying through our air, using our airplanes. And man, like I told you before, I'm torn on the word illegals because one of my best friends in California, who's still my friend to this day, He told me he was an illegal when I first met him, and I didn't know what it was. But the way that this is happening, the people that are coming over, the way that they act, it's not acceptable for American society, even as messed up as we are right now. And listen, I'm very particular about smells. And you can tell who's not from America because them stinky bastards don't wear deodorant. Man, talking about
on an airplane.
On an airplane.
and on an airplane, talk about annoyed and just, man, the word I can use is flabbergasted. I can't believe that this is really happening in the mainland, and nobody, I want to say, that's witnessing it is doing or saying anything else about it. It's crazy to me. It's really asinine. And yeah, we're a melting pot. Everyone wants to come to the U.S. I understand everybody wants a better life, but no way. This is broken. And I honestly believe it's an invasion. It's an invasion into the U.S., and they've opened the borders wide open. This has all been planned by the DNC. I'm here. I'm here. I see it. I'm in New York City, and even the New Yorkers don't like the illegals here.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I could take you guys around and walk with me so I could show you what it looks like around here.
Well, Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, he's now in the crosshairs of the Biden administration. I mean, this guy, he's a former cop. He's just like, hey, I'm just trying to manage my city as best I can. Yeah. And, I can take some of these illegals. I certainly can, but, I need some money. Help me out, Mr. Federal Government. What they do, they indicted his campaign manager for some campaign finance fraud or something ridiculous. Like, okay. Hey, there you go, Eric. Good luck with your re-election campaign, my man.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
And the other thing is, I know
See
we
what
started
happens
out
when you
with
speak out against that establishment.
Absolutely.
we started out with a Donald Trump question, and we ended up.
I know. We just kept going.
Sorry, guys.
All right. We're going to finish this sentence, which again is brought to you by the Guam Army National Guard and the Three Blind Mice. This one is not as deep and profound, okay? But
it's BV's turn.
BV, finish the sentence.
Yes, sir.
The blank will win Super Bowl. What is it? 58?
In other words, who's your favorite NFL team, my man? Who do you think is going to win? You want to? I can go for it,
man. So wait. Let me answer Chief's question. Who's my favorite NFL team? Chicago Bears. Because I fell in love with them when I was a little kid when I saw Refrigerator Perry holding a refrigerator up in the air.
The 85 Bears.
And to be honest, the 85 Bears, sir. To be honest, I don't even know who's playing in the Super Bowl right now. I'm busy.
I'm busy.
I love it, man. I love the fact that you're honest and that you're busy, because that's the way it should be.
Well,
we're still not in the playoffs yet. We're heading there.
Chief, we just do the truth here, right? So,
Okay,
you know
okay.
what?
Of course, no.
Okay. So, Frank, you tell me. The blank will win Super Bowl
Yeah.
58.
Okay. I don't know, but I think, who I think will be there. I think in the AFC, I think it's either going to be between the Dolphins and the Ravens, right? Representing the AFC. And I think in the NFC, it's going to be the 49ers. And I think the 49ers will ultimately be successful. They've got a complete team. As long as they're as healthy as they can be at that time of the year, right? They check off all the boxes. They got a solid defense. They all fly to the ball. 54 and 57, those guys fly to the ball. Like, holy shit, those guys, they're crazy, right? And their offense, 23, 11, 16, 85, and 13. Those guys they can rock.
But
they
Chief,
can play.
Niners
And then you
got
got Kyle Shanahan. He's a legacy, right?
Niners got to face somebody in that NFC championship. Is it going to be your Cowboys?
Well, they're not my Cowboys. The Cowboy fans. It could be. They're playing very, very well. Their defense is again. They fly to the ball too. Their offense is very good. But I think the Niners just have way more weapons.
Okay, so you think Niners and against Tua and the Dolphins, or Niners against Lamar and the Ravens?
I'll go with, I'm a Bama guy, so I got to go with Tua. I got to go with Tua, right in the Dolphins.
Yeah, well, my team wrote a Bama guy, and Mac Jones right now is riding that bench. So,
Well,
that's for another podcast. All right. You are listening and watching VERAfied Podcast from our Truth Studios in Agana Heights, Guam, USA. We got the Chief, Frank Arriola. We got Brandon Vera, who's calling in from New York City.
I think Brandon's hitting the blunt out there.
I think so. Not sharing the blunt virtually, huh? We're going to give some love to our sponsors, our brand partners.
I wish I was.
We will be right back.
Yep.
All right. Can you believe it's 2024?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, B.
Happy New Year, guys. Happy New
Happy
Year,
New Year
to all
to,
of our viewers watching
all
us
of
all
our-
the time, all around the world. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching us. And thank you for continuing to support us at the VERAfied Podcast, Truth Apparel, and Grapplers Quest. Mabuhay, salamat, and I appreciate you all.
There you go.
What B said.
Couldn't
All
have
right.
said it better myself.
Speaking of B, Brandon Vera,
Yes, sir.
we have our segment called VERAfied Mail.
Oh, okay.
And this is brought to us by, again, our friends at Guam Army National Guard and the Guam Windward Memorial. All right. B,
Yes, sir.
question 1 coming in from at Gone Grappling.
Okay.
Mr. Vera, now that you are an action movie star, when can we expect to see your films in American theaters? Good question. At Gone Grappling.
Man.
What do you say, B? No pressure.
So, it would be a dream to have one of our films on the silver screen in the mainland U.S. But the way that our world is turning, the way our world is moving, at the current state, everything we're shooting right now is for streaming services. And locally in the Philippines, we're trying to get them over into Guam so that we can watch them on the silver screen in Guam. But, man, how about I promise you this? I promise you I'm just going to keep trying to get better at being an actor, being an action star. And I promise you I'm going to try my hardest to get our films to the silver screens in the mainland, in the U.S. Other than that, though, I can't give you a time of when, except for we start shooting our next film in February. So stay posted for that. The other two are on Netflix and on Amazon Prime. So check me out there for now.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Brandon, and a good reminder for our audience. I'm watching my daughter turn me on to Yellowstone,
Oh,
right?
yes.
That's been going on since, I think, 2017, right? So I've been kind of laid up in bed for this last week, right? Dude,
Yeah.
I'm at season 5, episode 6. I did that in 4 days, bro. It's so with technology, I mean, bam, we're gonna do the same thing with Brandon, the VERAfied Podcast, all of it, right? Technology.
Absolutely.
Stored on the servers, you pull it up when you need it, And of course, I'm a big screen guy too, but I'm also in the comfort of my own home kind of a guy too, right? I've gotten used to that.
Yes, sir.
And with technology, you can watch any of his stuff on Netflix and Amazon.
So, B, based on what Chief Frank is saying, I think to satisfy Gone Grappling and probably, the millions of followers you have on social media and the people that have watched your streaming movies, maybe we're all excited for that Brandon Vera series, maybe, right?
Oh, man.
BV.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Yee.
I'm thinking we should probably put one together for you. What do you think? Yeah?
I would appreciate that. We can make that happen.
Oh, coming up.
Absolutely. Yeah, we needed to tease that real quick. All right. B, we have second verified mail coming in. It says, oh, you're going to like this one.
Uh-oh.
Brandon, like you, I grew up in the States, but unlike you, I don't speak Tagalog very well. I'm impressed by your ability to speak Tagalog so well. What do you attribute that to? And this is from at American Pinoy in the Bayou. Wow.
Whoa.
I didn't imagine that. We have Pinoy in New Orleans,
In
somewhere in
Orleans.
Louisiana. I like it. So, what say you, B?
You know,
New Orleans.
so a little bit background. My family came over from the Philippines and was, I would say, first gen immigrants to the U.S. And a big problem that was happening back in the day was racism. Huge deal back in the day. If you had an accent, you couldn't get a job. If your kids were too brown, you couldn't get into a certain school. And this is just the reality of the times that we grew up in. Thankfully, my father decided that he was going to make his own way. Open restaurants, do XYZ to make sure. And I heard him say this. No matter what, his kids are going to learn Tagalog. We're going to learn the language of the motherland because he's going to make his own way. He doesn't want his kids ignorant and only learning how to speak one language. So to me, I remember hearing him say that. So that was part one. Part two, our Lola, first gens, used to just go to work, both of them, and the parents would take the child and drop them off at grandma. Grandma would be staying at whoever's house that week she wanted to be staying at. Just how it was. Grandma lives with everybody whenever she wants. Lola didn't speak any English, even until the day she died at 98, and she only said yes and no. Those are the only two English words she used. So if you were hungry at the house and you were growing up, you had to learn how to speak Tagalog or Lola would let you go hungry. So though it seems crazy back in the day, I'm super grateful that my Lola and my dad and the rest of my family made us learn Tagalog. Fast forward a little bit more, everyone in my family, even though they don't speak, they can understand. So in Tagalog, we have a saying, especially if you go in the Philippines, hindi ka mabebenta sa Pilipinas, which means they can't sell you in the Philippines. And that's the most important thing, I think, for Filipinos. If you're in the mainland and you want to learn Tagalog, it's become such, and listen, everybody wants to argue about what the national language of the Philippines is. Not everybody speaks Tagalog. I'm not arguing about that. Go to a local college, usually community colleges in the area, have Tagalog speaking classes, have Visaya speaking classes. So go check them out, look online, water your roots, and get back to some other language that will help you out in the future if you ever get to go back to the Philippines.
Nice.
Thank you, B. Man, it's you know what? Maybe we should think about voting for you. I don't know. Where should we run this, man?
Real life immersion.
Yeah.
No, but that was inspiring. I like that. So hopefully, American Pinoy in the Bayou, that satisfied their question. All right, that ends our segment. Verified Mail. We go into one that I think is pretty fun. And I think it pretty much sums up why we have the Verified Podcast in existence, right? This one is called Truth or Bullshit. All right.
Favorite one.
First
Favorite
one. All right.
I have a tough time answering these dang questions. Hurry up.
All right. Chief, truth or BS?
Yeah, Chief.
It's time to place term limits on those elected to Congress.
Look at it, Brandon. We have a screen here in front of us, and Brandon's he's in New York City, but he's laughing. He's laughing like crazy.
Well, it's probably his way of staying warm too, right? What is it, 26, 27 degrees back there?
Yeah, it's free. It's not
that's
okay
a good
out
question,
here.
John, about term limits. Many years ago, a local attorney, James Brooks, we were doing the Eddie Calvo first run in 2002, and term limits came up, and he said, Frank, and I was at the time, I said, yeah, we should have term limits because we have all these, career guys, right? And he's like, Frank, we already have term limits built in. It's called the vote of the electorate. And he's an older man than I am, wiser, obviously, more experienced, and I think he was even on the Guam Election Commission, so he knew of what he spoke. And I thought, okay, I get that. And while there are some that, in the U.S. Congress you're talking about, some who have, I believe, overstayed their welcome, and there have been a lot, you have to leave it to the electorate. As bad as some of those congresspersons were, or whatever, or as much as I disagree with their policies, you can't take away the vote from the individual, right? And in that regard, I would agree with Jim Brooks' position of there are term limits that are built in. Because remember that they're represented by look at Nancy Pelosi, my favorite Speaker of the House. Wink, wink. Right, she represents the city of San Francisco, and they continue to vote for her.
Sure.
And I can't argue with that. I mean, if you want her to represent you, because and then in Congress, the other dynamic is seniority. Currying favor, making deals, right? That's how Pelosi got to be right to be the speaker, and with the speakership came a lot of power and a lot of benefit that came to her constituency in San Francisco. It may not have been to everybody up and down, but I guarantee you the wealthy, the rich of the rich in San Francisco obtained a lot of benefits from her, and they continue to fund her elections so that she continued to go back to Washington, D.C. and be the speaker. Can we say, okay, after 2 or 3 terms, you got to stop? So your question was, should there be term limits?
Is that truth or bullshit? It's time to place term limits on those elected to Congress.
No, I would call bullshit on that. I would leave it up to the people to vote. And I want to be consistent in that regard, just like whether we're going to vote for Biden. People go ask, God, can we get anything better? Well, that's what the Americans, rightly or wrongly, have said. We want Biden versus Trump, assuming it gets to that in 2024. Well, then that's your choice. That's the American system. That's what you stay with. That's what you go with. Just get more people out there to vote for your guy and go from there.
Brandon, I think Frank makes a good argument. Obviously, he called that bullshit. I think maybe the alternate thought, at least for me, and some of the discussions I have with friends about this is, if you're a true leader, you should be searching for turnkey solutions so that you don't need to be there for, 15, 20 terms. And like a Joe Biden, I've been here for 50 years. If you've led, you can lead, then move. I mean, we certainly have term limits on, who can run for governor and president. So truth or BS, it's time to place term limits on those elected to Congress. For
me, it's truth. And the only reason why I would say this now, and I do agree with Chief's entire argument. I understand it and I do agree. I don't believe in our election system anymore. And that's a big deal for me. If you have people in power...
That's fair.
Putting people in power, keep putting people in power, we're going to end up like China. Only friends of friends get into the office.
That was succinct and clear.
That was very consistent.
Yeah.
Your position is very consistent, and that would be clearly. My hope is that you leave it up to the electorate and they'll handle it, right?
Yeah.
But Brandon's position is, well, shit, they're being influenced, suppressive information from big tech. Media not doing their jobs, not presenting the news the way they should. Everything slanted left, right? So, and he's right. He's correct about that. So it's a nice difference of opinion, but that's what we're here for, right?
Yes, sir.
It's an unvarnished truth. To quote Vivek Ramaswamy, I love that kid. I swear to God, that guy, he's just straight on, and people hate him. CNN guys, Vance Jones. He got into it with Vance Jones. Vance Jones called him a demagogue. He said this. He said that. He said that. Bruh,
I don't think Vance Jones likes anybody.
That's not him.
Outside of his circle.
Yeah, no, that's not. That doesn't live in the same apartment complex. Vivek Ramaswamy just tells it. He tells it just like the way you just told it, right? I'm hopeful, right? But Brandon's like, I don't believe in our election system right now today, and that's exactly the same kind of truth that Vivek Ramaswamy speaks on a daily basis.
Okay,
he's straight up.
Next, no, that's good. That's good, Chief. Next statement: truth or BS? B.
Yes.
Donald Trump will be our next president. Truth or BS? Donald Trump will be our next president.
Personally, I would like for the Don to be our next president. But man, the
Donald.
The deep state has come out in more ways that I could even imagine that they had their hands in. And it's scary to see how far people will go to stay in power. We're being invaded by illegals, military-age men, not refugees. They keep talking to us about a civil war. They keep talking to us about the power grid going down. They keep talking to us about a new strain from China that's causing pneumonia. They keep talking to us about everything else to keep us in fear. Nothing's positive. So everybody's already sitting on the edge of their seat, waiting for something bad to happen. And I just don't know. In my heart of hearts, I don't know if the big Don's gonna make it to the election. I really just don't know. And that could just be a dark horse thing for me saying, but what would you do if you had absolute power and you wanted to keep it? And Don is the only one, the Trumpster is the only one that's standing in your way. So, will he be our president? God, I really hope so.
That's 100%.
I hope.
But I'm going to say on the statement, Donald Trump will be our next president. B, sounds like you're calling that bullshit. And Chief, I mean, again,
No.
Brandon is consistent. If you go back to his previous concern, right, about the first question, right, regarding term limits, Brandon obviously has deep concern, and I mean, let's just say it, does not trust either the electorate to make the right decisions or the election process.
He's correct on all points, and I agree with him on all his concerns, without question. No question, I agree with Brandon on all his points. My hope is that, and it can, I've always said I'm not a Donald Trump guy. I'm a conservative American who wants the best for America, period. I think Donald Trump can deliver on that. I think Ron DeSantis can deliver on that. I think Nikki Haley can deliver on that. And I think to a certain extent, if she was surrounded by the right people, I think Kamala Harris can deliver on that. Joe Biden, he's got a record now.
Yeah.
He's 2.5, 3 years in. Look at his record. It's horrible. It's atrocious. I don't see anything. And I was thinking about this as well. I tried to think about what good has he brought out.
Good question,
I don't
Chief.
see a lot.
What good has
Not
he
for
brought?
the Americans, right? I mean, you get 2 wars, right? My 35 and 28-year-old daughter struggling to buy a home, right? It's quickly coming out of their reach. don't even let me get started about the border. I mean, Brandon called it. It's an invasion because it is an invasion, and there's going to be some bad things. Yet they're still so close. Trump, Biden, assuming they're going to be the guys. They're going after Trump, both guns blazing, right? They've gone so far as to have a court. They're not even elected to remove him from a ballot. I mean, what country that happens in China? Well, they don't even vote in China. It happens in like communist countries. And like I said earlier, when I was growing up, if you wanted to insult someone, you're a communist. You're a communist, aren't you? Well, these people are communists, right? These people who are just trying to remove. And you're right, Brandon. Donald Trump says this way. They are actually going after you, but I'm just in the way, right? And he's flipped the light on that group of people who want power so badly that they flip it on him by saying, Donald Trump is the Antichrist. He's the guy who's against democracy. He's never proven that to me. No, not at all. It's been the exact reverse.
All right. Guys out there, again, thank you for supporting. You are tuning in to the VERAfied Podcast. This is an alternate voice. You're going to hear things here from Brandon Vera and from Frank Arriola and me that you might not agree with, but you're always going to get the truth. All right. My favorite segment, the VERAfied Top 5. This is a fun one.
Yes, sir.
Are we ready? It's so funny.
Let's go.
My highly intellectual brothers, they can answer about Israel and Hamas and, whether we should have term limits on congressional elections. But the moment I ask what their favorite color is, they lose their mind. So, VERAfied Top 5, brought to you by the Guam Army National Guard and Grapplers Quest, just a couple weeks away.
Woo, woo.
Woo! All right. Are we ready, gentlemen? B, let's start with you.
Okay.
The top 5 items on your bucket list. Go.
On my bucket list.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm asking an MMA legend, a Jits black belt, a movie star, essentially an ambassador for, everybody from America to your homeland, the Philippines. You got an amazing kid, incredible wife. What's left for B to accomplish? But
Man.
top 5 items on your bucket list. At least let's start with one.
I've had a blessed life. I've had a very blessed life. Hasn't been an easy life. I've had to grind and break my body, spill some blood, have a bunch of surgeries to get where I am, to have all the fun that I've had, to be able to do all the things that people pay money to go do. Honestly, man, where I'm at in my life right now, I would like to be able to, on my bucket list, if my children decide they want to compete, I want to help create world champions out of them if they go that far. And I want to stay on my bucket list. I want to grow old and drink coffee with my wife on the porch with a view in our rocking chairs. And the only other third one I can think of is before I do all that, and before I pass this time, I want to be able to help the people of the world. One way or another, I want to be able to help people so they can say, hey, man, he can do it. I can do it too. And honestly, I'm sorry it's not 5, but this is more of a PG-13 episode. So we can't talk about all the cool stuff that we've done in our life. So we'll just leave it at top 3 for now.
But, of course, in typical Brandon fashion, Frank, he goes super profound, and then you got to follow that.
Well, I certainly appreciate his candor, his honesty. And, I see people post on Facebook. I went to, I climbed up the Eiffel Tower, bucket list, check this. To me, and like Brandon, I've lived a very good life. I've been very fortunate. I've done a lot of wonderful things. I've done so many great, wonderful. I don't really have a bucket list per se, right? You know, I've traveled around the world. I've done a lot of things. People they freak out when they see if I saw Michael Jordan, I'd be like, hey, Mike, what's going on, bro? Like he's a boy, like he's me, right? He's not a god. I don't look at him like so that wouldn't be like a bucket list. I don't put people in that. You're the same as me, bro. Someone once told me, well, when the president of our company came to visit, he says, hey, shit, everyone's nervous, make their desk look nice and all this crap, get their numbers ready. The accounting guy said, Frank, I'm not nervous. Why not, John? He goes, he's the same as me, man. We put on our pants one leg at a time, right? And I took that to heart. And I was like a 20-year-old just out of college, right? So I took that, So to get to the question, the bucket list, I don't really have, and I travel, like I said, I've traveled quite a bit. I've met a lot of interesting and important people. To me, kind of like Brandon, I want my family to be happy, right? My wife and I, we do our thing, right? We're doing well. I look at my kids, and I want them to do well. I want them to be successful. That would be my bucket right there. That my group, right? Yes. I want them to have the best. And honestly, and I kind of thought about this one time. I thought, you as a human being, you want to do things for other people, right? And in Guam, we turn to politics. Go run for senator or something, and do good, right? God, that's like banging your head against a concrete wall, bro. That would be tough for me to do that. And people have asked me, hey, man, fucking Frank, you need to go and run for senator, whatever the freak it is, right?
Matter of fact, that's the rumor that you're going to be running in this
upcoming
senatorial
I think even you
here.
asked me.
Yeah, Chief.
Yeah. Man, that's not my gig, No, that's not my gig. It just isn't, at least I'm honest about it to myself.
Absolutely.
Right? But there are other ways. And this podcast is one of those ways. You're going to hear from me, and you will hear the true Frank Arriola for sure. Like we hear Brandon and whatnot. Now, I'll tell you, if someone's going to run for anything around here, it's going to be Brandon Vera, right? It's going to be him.
Absolutely.
He's got all the tools, and he's got that. The heart is in the right place, right?
Yeah.
That's important, right? But bucket list. I've done a lot in my life, and I just want to be happy. I want our country to be successful. I want our country, everyone in our country, people who I agree with and people I don't, to be happy, right? To be at peace, right? But there are things to get there that necessarily have to occur today, right now, that I don't see happening. That's why I'm pretty, animated about talking about it.
All right, I got you. You know what? To our audience, I'm telling you, when I asked this question, when I put this in, I was expecting bungee jumping off the Eiffel Tower or, I want to go where they film The Sound of Music and then, do Edelweiss or whatever it is, right? No, I got profound answers from these two guys, but I tell you what, this is the best way because our director right now, Bojo Molina, who's just amazing. He's telling us to wrap this up. So I'm just going to tell you. I think it was about maybe 7 years ago. Good friend of mine and a family member to Frank Arriola, Dr. Aline Yamashita. I told her that on my bucket list, I wanted to be part of a podcast.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, I am part of the greatest podcast out there.
There you go.
Brandon the Truth Vera, Franklin Arriola, John Mafnas hosting. We're giving you the truth, an alternate voice out there to the mainstream media, and sometimes the fake news. You always get it here. You're always getting the truth. I'm so blessed to be a part of this. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you to our brand partners, Guam National Guard, Truth, Apparel, Grapplers Quest, Guam Windward Memorial, 3 Blind Mice, our fantastic guys. Thank you, Frank.
Yeah.
Thank you, B.
Thanks, Chief.
Travel safely.
Yes, sir.
God
Gentlemen.
bless you all. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
We love you.